Hey there. My name's Bob Groves, and I work with successful men who are drifting in life before you crash. I started Man Alive 17 years ago after I almost lost everything. I lost my career, my reputation, and nearly my marriage. I spent almost 20 years as a megachurch pastor, leading thousands of people, building something impressive from the outside, but on the inside, I was dying. I was living a double life. I was hiding. I was pretending I had it all figured out until the crash forced me to face something I should have faced years earlier. We were given a 1% chance of saving our marriage, and we spent the next 17 years rebuilding and now getting to where our marriage is amazing, rebuild our life, our purpose. And today, my marriage is better than I ever imagined. But I learned something through the process. Most men don't need to crash to get honest. They just need someone who's been there, someone who knows the way out, someone to trust, someone to get real with. I call it a brave and a safe space. And that's what most men really need is a place they can be honest and deal with their stuff. And that's what I do. That's what Man Alive does. That's why Man Alive was created for men like I once was. I help men close the gap before the crash and they lose everything. Not through books, not through podcasts, not through trying harder, but through clarity of vision, through courage, through confidence that comes. And if you're watching this, you bought and hopefully have already done the drift assessment. The title is very specific and intentional for me because I believe this drift is what causes all the challenges. And so there's one of two things that are true for you. You either saw your score and thought, okay, not as bad as I thought, or you saw your score and felt in your gut that feeling that says something needs to change. Stuff just got real. And either way, you're here because something was off and you wanted to see it clearly. And it takes guts. I think getting honest and facing yourself, facing your life takes a lot of courage for a guy. And most men spend years ignoring that, ignoring the drift, hoping it gets better, telling ourselves it's not that bad. But you didn't for whatever reason. And I want to tell you what you'll learn in the next 60 minutes. I don't think it'll be 60 minutes, but I've crafted that much time. But you're going to learn why men drift and what that's really about. And it has nothing to do with work ethic or weakness and that stuff. But secondly, I'll share the gaps that I most commonly see in men's lives and why gaps compound faster than you really think they will or do. And then third, how how is it that you can't close the gap on your own? Because that's part of the lie, right? We want to believe we can do this, and yet here we are years or decades later still thinking, ruminating that we can do this. And then the fourth thing is what happens if you're serious about closing the gap? And I'll just share a little bit about what I do and how I may be able to help if it's a thing. If not, it's all good. I just want to add value to your life. And so I don't sell, I don't have to. I'm not going to spend 60 minutes convincing you to work with me. I intentionally made this video to add value to you because I'm committed to helping men live the life that I believe we're created and meant to live. And here's my core belief. When I get it right, our world is better. And I also believe when we don't, our world suffers. And that's it. That's the foundation of everything I do. And I'm going to give you the framework, the psychology, the thoughts behind the truth about what you're dealing with. And you decide what to do with it. But I'm going to add value. That's what I'm here to do. Again, I don't have to sell. I don't sell. I add value. And if on your side you go, man, I'd like to know more, we talk about it. If not, we high five, we walk away. We're better for having met in some capacity. So let's start with the question: why do highly successful men Why do they drift? And here's what I think most people think is they, let me say this right. I think we think, that's way too much to say, you drift because you're not disciplined enough. In other words, there's a commitment, there's a thing that I just have to do that better. And that's not true. That's not it. We drift because I've learned it. Success isolates us from real conversations, from real accountability, from the questions that need to be asked. And I'll give you an example. When you're successful professionally, financially, publicly, the people around you, like if you have a title, no one in your professional sphere has permission to ask you difficult questions. And if any of them ever do, they only do it once. Like you don't tolerate that. And then there's this misconception that outside of your professional life, you're doing okay. And we get around our guys, right? And it's always shallow. It's like, how's it going? I'm good, man. Oh man, looks like you're crushing it. And we never have a place to let people behind the curtain. And we end up in this thing that we're fighting our own battles because at one level they're not allowed to ask us. At another level, we lie or we hide and they assume we have it figured out. And your wife sees how much you're carrying. You come home um, exhausted or tapped out, and she doesn't want to stress you out. She doesn't really want to challenge you, or she's just learned, like she's getting a version of you that's not really great. Your friends think you're crushing it, so we have a beer and a cigar, and they don't challenge you. Like they'll just maybe at worst will go, "How are you doing, man? I'm good." Really? Yep, I'm good, and that's it. Your kids see you as busy dad, and probably by now, unless you've been really intentional, you've missed a lot of stuff because of work or meetings and all. And they just know dad's working. And so they tap out. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop being honest with yourself. You get better at hiding. You get better. One of my clients called it polishing the apple. And you just get good at it. Like you're excelling professionally, and in other areas you're tolerating or accepting. Like you just tell yourself your marriage is fine, and somewhere in there, like the truth is you're willing to accept it. Like you see whatever it takes as I don't know if I want to do that right now. You tell yourself, like with your kids, this is how I pay the bills, this is how we go on vacation or whatever, and you have some kind of pseudo thing there, kind of cats in the cradle song thing going on, that we'll never wish we worked more. We'll never wish we missed more of our kids' stuff, and because the chase, the buzz, the hustle, we get off on that. We'll tell ourselves, "I will fix it later," and how long has later not come yet? Like how far has that stayed ahead of us? Because the drift is gradual. This is what I think is so freaking inebriating of it. Like I call it 1 degree at a time. And what I mean by that is if you're the day you get married, let's say, I do for better, for worse, and all of that, and you don't realize it, but you're 1 degree off. And it doesn't seem like much, but over a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you end up in a place you don't even believe in. And I'll give you a real life example of 1 degree. If you're flying from New York to LA, New York to LA, across the country, that's it. And you're just 1 degree off when you take off and you don't course correct. At a mile, not a big deal. Mile 10, still not a big deal. 100 miles is becoming a thing. 1,000 miles, or when you get to LA, you're not landing in LA. You're 400 miles off course now. 400 miles, just 1 degree across the country, you're landing in San Francisco instead of LA. That's drift. That's just 1 degree. Or here's another one. Here's an easy one. Imagine you're shooting a gun or a bow or whatever, a bazooka, I don't care. You're 300 yards away from the target. 1 degree. That's it. You shoot at a target 300 yards away, you don't miss by an inch. You don't even miss by a foot. You miss by over 15 feet. That's not almost, that's not close. That's a total miss. Same rifle, same gun, same strength, same effort. The only problem is you're off. And this is how it happens in real life. Like 1 degree at any given moment, it's not catastrophic. It's not a gut punch. It's not enough to get your attention. And 1 degree, and then another degree, and another degree, and you get to a place you didn't even know was possible. And good men don't wake up and decide to wreck their life or wreck their marriage. They don't decide to become disconnected from their kids. We don't decide to let our career like eat our soul and consume our life. We just stay 1 degree off for far too long. No explosion, no scandal, no big failure, just drift. And then you end up somewhere in any or all of those realms you never intended. So the question is not, are you working hard? The real question is, are you aimed right? Like if things continue the way they are in every life area, a year from now, 5, 10 years from now, will you end up where you really want to be? Direction beats intensity and hard work all day long, every single time. 1 degree today, it's not a big deal. 1 degree every day for a year, in theory, that's 365 degrees off from where you want to be. 1 degree, choosing work over a conversation with your wife, saying you're fine when you're not, avoiding conversations because you don't want to have them, being there with the kids but not really being present. You still on your phone or whatever, and you just ignore signs, and the gap can get so wide that it can feel almost insurmountable. And that's why you took the assessment. You felt the drift. You may not have called it that, and putting some names on it, you just wanted to see where you are, and now you see it. And the question isn't, why did you drift? The question is really, what am I going to do about it? And we'll get to that. But first, just get real for a moment. And here's some gaps. Here's some of the drifts that I see most often. And so in the decade, the years, I've actually been working with men for, it's crazy to say, but going on 40 years in leadership or some capacity. But the last decade in coaching specifically, I've seen a few gaps recurring. And the first one is marriage. The second one is purpose, men trying to figure out who they are or why they're on the planet. Like, you lose your passion, your why. And then the third one is authenticity, like just being real. And I want to dig into these for a moment. Like marriage. Nobody gets married, like I said, at that altar with the intent of being a degree off. Somewhere in you, there's this dream. As guys, you may never say it, but you think, man, this is the one. Like we're going to have this amazing relationship, soul partners for life, and all of that. And you laugh, you dream, you may be best friends, and you know, like the honeymoon period, right? But we also know it's kind of like dating. We all have baggage, we all have stuff, right? And when you're dating, the baggage doesn't come out. You don't share your ugliest underwear on the first date. You stuff it. You keep it all hidden, and then when you get married, stuff starts coming out. And if you don't know how to navigate it and deal with it, that starts this drift. Like I'm a firm believer the degree of difficulty of a conversation is also tied to the degree of intimacy on the other side of it. And you can become roommates that are just managing life instead of like making love and having an amazing relationship. And, it's like, did you pick up the kids? What's for dinner? Can you handle this? You got this? And you're coordinating more than you connect. And sex can, sadly, become very transactional or almost non existent. I know way too many couples who end up not sleeping together over something. And, it, again, you never thought that on your wedding night. And the conversations become surface level, like updates, go over your calendar. How are we going to handle this weekend? You have this type stuff. And here's the thing that kills you is you don't really know where or when it happened. Like you can't look back and go, I remember it was the 6th month of our wedding. We avoided talking about something, and it's not a moment. It's not a fight. It's kind of like that question, which hit broke the rock? All of them. And it's a thousand small moments. It's that 1 degree over and over and over where you chose work over her or over your kids, or you said I'm fine when you're not, and or a guy almost checked in, how you doing, how's wet, marriage and all, and you stopped being curious about her, and she stopped being curious about you because you just got tired. 1 degree at a time, and now the gap is in the assessment 18 or 20 points or worse, and you don't know how to close it, because if you did, you already would have. And this is why I tell you, you can't do this on your own. You can't just try harder, and you can't compensate over there and buy another thing over here. You can't fake intimacy. You can't. You can have sex, but you can't fake making love. You can't force connection. The gap closes when you really get honest and you really start making changes for you that start playing into the husband, the dad, the man you need to be. And when you stop pretending it's fine and start telling the truth about where you really are. And I know that's scary. I know we hide it and we bury it and we don't want to, but what if she doesn't want to close it? What if it's too late? Like that's inconceivable, right? And we don't want to believe that. But here's what I've learned is most marriages are not dead. They're not even broken. They're just stagnant. They're dormant. They're in their own ritual. They're in their own habit. And the moment you get honest, the other one feels like your wife feels like permission was just given, that wow, he's vested. He really wants to make some changes. And I know how that happens, but I also know the drift happened for me 17 years ago. I almost lost my marriage because I waited until crisis to get honest. And our counselor, after we sifted through a lot, literally said he had given us a 1% chance of saving our marriage just because of so many factors against us. It was a very public thing. And today, like our marriage is better than I even imagined it could be. Like before we drifted, I never knew I could have the marriage I have, let alone after um, the dark night of the soul. But I had to bring it into the light. I had to get real with it. I had to face some stuff I didn't want to face, but it changed everything. And then the gap of purpose. Over here, we're building a business or a career, right? And reputation, income, and again, from the outside, it's impressive. Like the car you drive, where you vacation, the house or houses, the suits. Like, mm. And here's what nobody would even guess is you can get to where it doesn't even feel you anymore. It becomes the golden handcuffs. It becomes the thing that you're just going through the motions, man. You're checking boxes. You do what's expected. Um, you stay awake at night thinking about these things. What's crazy is you can't tell someone you might be bored with your career because someone else is striving to get where you are. And so you keep that to yourself that I don't have passion. I'm I'm burned out. Like I don't know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And so you can feel empty. And again, the worst part is who do you tell this to? Because people that don't understand it tell you you're crazy and you should be grateful. And people would die to have what you have and all of that. And so you just go, must be me. Something's wrong with me. I should be. And you try to tell yourself, like, okay, suck it up, man. This is good. And 2 days in, you're driving home thinking about it again. Like, just because, like, people will say, like, how can I be dying inside when I'm professionally as successful as I am without it feeling incredibly ungrateful? And how do you admit the thing you may have built, the thing people admire about you, is the thing that's killing you? And so you don't say anything, you just keep going. And I cannot tell you how many guys have sat in front of me carrying the weight of all of this, and inside they're burned out, empty, don't know what it all means, and yet don't know how to make any real change or to make sense of it. Because every day you spend building something that doesn't align or doesn't fill you, you drift further from the real man you're trying to be. And you wake up at 50 or 60 years of age, and it's like, wow, I've spent the greater part of my life building the wrong thing. And here's the truth. It's not even about purpose. I can help guys find purpose pretty quickly through a couple questions. It's crazy because we treat it like a dangling carrot, but it's not even that. It's clarity. It's like driving in a fog. And once you have vision and have clarity, we can get the roads right. We can get your purpose locked down. It's there. It's just buried under expectations and obligations and the drivenness and all of that. Because what's the ROI of sitting down and trying to figure out your purpose, right? The ROI of a $50,000 contract, though, that's easy. The ROI of going out and making it happen. But the ROI of this, it's hard to quantify until you see it. And man, you never live without it again. And the only way to find it is to get honest about what you really want. And comes to mind, like I met with a new client just recently. He owns a multi-million-dollar business, and he's known for his list. Like I have to do, I have to do, I have to do, have to. And I just asked him a question that broke him, and it was literally, "What do you want?" And he, like, again, he's a gentleman in his 60s. He looked at me and he said, I've never, ever thought of what I actually want out of all of this. And now we've met a few times, and it's just crazy when you peel the onion back and when you realize it's not about trying to impress people, it's about you. And I know it's hard sometimes to quit putting yourself last, but sometimes you have to come to the forefront so you deal with this lack of passion and tap back into that fire again, to where you're building the life, the legacy that you're really after. And the cost of staying in the wrong place is way higher than the cost of leaving or changing. Crazy. Third gap is authenticity. And I think this is a killer. This is this gap between the public you and the private you. And the public you is the guy that everyone sees, right? He's confident, he's together, he's in control. Even if in here you're tripping, your public face, man, you got it, right? And then there's the version of you that you can't crack your armor, man. You can't let anybody into the one who is fearful and fear-based driven or uncertain or maybe even like for me, you're fighting battles. I call them demons. You're fighting your demons and no one even knows because you leave the house, it's game face. You get home, you're not connected enough. You can't be real there. And so you have this public, personal, public, private you. And man, I again speak from experience. It's exhausting because you're managing that gap all the time. And you can get lost in it, but you're always trying to make sure no one sees the real you. You're making sure your armor is on and your mask is on. And the longer you live in that gap, it just gets crazy hard to close because even you start like losing sight of who am I? Like, and you identify by your job, your career, your title. People, you'll introduce yourself as, hey, I'm Bob. I do, right? And yet who really knows you? You start to think the public version of you is you. And the private one, he's in there struggling. He's the one that is screaming for life, but he's also the one that's hiding. He's the guy that has secrets and has battles and addictions and affairs and stuff that um, we can't let anybody know. It would bust the image, and so he gets buried, and you get to where this gap is so far apart that it eats at your soul, like it destroys you inside out. And again, I've been there. Like I started a church with 14 people and grew it to thousands. I was a pastor of a mega church for almost 20 years, thousands of people. And from the outside, wife included, everyone, I was crushing it. And on the inside, I was dying. I didn't tell anybody. What could I tell them? Like the image, the thing was too big. I was the guy who people came to me to figure stuff out. I was supposed to have it figured out. And so I kept the demons in hiding. I kept the secret. And sadly, it cost me everything. My ministry, my reputation, nearly my marriage, nearly my family. And the crash forced me to face what I should have faced for years, decades. The secrets you keep in the shadows will destroy what you've built in the light. And I so wish I had brought things to the light. I was scared. I didn't know who to trust, how to trust. And that's what I help guys do, man. Like what you live in, the stuff in the secrets, the shadows, the fringes, the hiddenness, that's the stuff that has to come to the light. And if you don't have like a brave, safe, confidential space to do that, the gap is widening, man. I mean, I know. And you need someone to be honest with, someone that you don't have to hide or pretend, someone that you can say whatever and there's no judgment, there's no pullback. Terrifying, I know, but that's the only way. And so that's the gaps that I see most often. And I told you, you can't do this on your own. Like most guys, you don't want to hear that. You want to think, yeah, I can, like, and it's crazy. You haven't yet, but you think you can when you're ready to. And this is the believable lie, like, right? Like I know you don't want the gap, and yet you'll tell yourself, like, when I'm ready to connect with my wife, when I'm ready, or I'd like to, and there's always a however, and you can't read enough books to fix this, man. You can't listen to enough podcasts or the podcast. You can't work harder. It's not that kind of thing. You're not going to figure it out. I was there. I mean, I can't tell you how many books I read. I can't tell you how many things, sermons I listened to, taught. I'm not saying that to sell you something. I'm saying it because it's true. If you're still listening to this, you already know this is true. The gap didn't happen in isolation. It happened in relationship. It happened with your wife. It happened with your kids. It happened with your friends. You're not going to fix it in isolation, just like it didn't happen in isolation. You can't think your way out of the relational problems you have. You can't read your way out or weekend retreat your way out of a marriage gap. It doesn't happen. While I'm thinking, I used to do Man Alive retreats only. I'd take 8 high-end executives on a 3-day weekend, and we'd work on this. But the problem was we'd come back to life. We'd come back to reality. And that's when I pivoted Man Alive to a journey, because reality would slap these guys in the face on a Monday. And no matter how good the ecosystem, the think tank was, reality was there. You can't retreat your way out of a marriage gap. You can't go to a marriage retreat and do this. You can't podcast your way out of an authenticity crisis. You need someone that's outside the system, someone who's walked this path, someone who can walk with you and doesn't pull back like friends do. Doesn't, oh my God, you didn't tell me that. Like, your wife's too close. You can't do this with your wife. Yet there will come a time you can. You can't tell your friends they're in the same boat and they're going to give you bad advice. Like, they're going to tell you, suck it up or it'll be all right. And they're all in the same freaking boat, leaking water, telling you how to fix your thing. You have to find someone who's been there, who's walked this out, who knows the way that you can trust. And that's what I do. I work with men who are drifting before they crash, and sadly, sometimes after they crash. And here's what I've learned. The gap closes through a couple very specific things and stages. Clarity. You need to see the drift clearly, not just feel it, not just do an assessment. It showed you the score. You saw your gaps, but you need to get clear on, where do you really want to be in your marriage? Not what sounds good on paper, what you tell your wife, or all of that. What's your vision? Crystal clear. Where's your vision? What is it? To where a year from now, 5 years from now, if you and I talked, and in a year from now, 5 years from now, you called me and said, Bob, it's absolutely been the best year of my life. My marriage is, my relationship with my kids is, my health is, in areas to where you'd be able to go, that's really what I want in my life. The second stage is courage. Courage, you've heard that saying, it's having fear and doing it anyway, right? But you have to have some courageous decisions based on the clarity. And this is normally one of the gaps. Guys don't have the courage because they're not clear. You can make courageous decisions that are absolutely wrong. I'm going to leave my wife. Like, that's just stupid. Like, you got to a place that you're making bad decisions because you're not clear on the outcomes and the objectives. And the decision to get honest with your wife is more courageous than to keep working over here and doing stuff. The decision to walk away from what's not working in your life takes courage. The decision to bring your secret to somebody into the light is courageous. Clarity, courage. The third one is confidence. Confidence is a byproduct, not a prerequisite. Self-confidence is different, but you've got to earn confidence in some areas. And the thing is, the moment you try to talk to your wife, right? Or you're thinking about it, let's just say, and it's like, I don't know how to talk to her. I don't know what to say. In other words, you're not confident. Now, you can be confident running a $10 million company, but talking to your wife about something vulnerable, never done it. And so out of that, we allow confidence to be misunderstood and we pull back. you can't have confidence in something until you've put in the reps. And confidence can't be faked. You have to earn it. And when you know clarity and you take the courageous right steps, confidence starts coming from that. Confidence comes from doing the hard things and seeing results. Clarity, courage, confidence. That's how the gap closes. You can't do it on you can't talk out loud and hear yourself and go, oh, I've got clarity. You're too close. You're too in it. Like I didn't know how to fight my way out of it. I lied to myself for years. I prayed bargain prayers with God. God, if you will, I will, um, but I wasn't sure like how to make the right decisions. And one time I actually reached out to my dad right before my whole world blew up. He was the only guy I thought maybe I can talk to him. And I said something like this. I said, Dad, I'm in trouble, man. And um, we were sitting, as a matter of fact, in a new church building we were having built, 1,600 seat, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't even respond to me. He actually looked up and pointed at a stud and said, I don't think that's nailed down. And that was his response. And that was the only time I ever tried to reach out to a guy. And my lesson was so jacked. It was like, okay, I'm on my own. And I so wish, so wish I had somebody to talk to that could have heard me and helped me fight my way out of it before I just pushed the gas. And you don't you don't get there on your own. But that's what Man Alive does. That's what I do one on one as a coach with guys. I help you close these gaps. And it's not by information, it's by walking with you through a process that actually does what you're trying to do. And so here's where we are. You took the assessment, you've seen your gaps. Thank you for watching this. It's funny, I created the assessment, and my commitment to add value to you is I want to teach. Like I want you to feel my passion. I want you to hear me. And I want you to know I'm real. I'm not just a AI, let me create a worksheet thing, send it out. That's not me, man. I am so committed to helping guys because, again, I told you, I just believe when your world gets better, when you get better, your world gets better. And so you know where you're drifting, you know why you're drifting, and you know you can't close it on your own. And so there are two options from my side of things. Like one, you can do nothing, close the video, keep on banging it out, and do what you've done. Hope it gets better. And if that's what you do, I truly hope it does get better. I don't think it will. Let me say, you may improve it, but you won't make it elite. That's probably more true. You can go, you know what, I'm going to quit fighting with my wife, and you can. Or you want to go on more dates, and you can. But that doesn't mean, like, I think a lot of marriages settle for okay. And we didn't get married for okay. But I'm not going to chase you. Like, I don't follow up and say, hey, man, come on. But a year from now, if you're still thinking about the gaps, they're just going to get wider. Like it's just the way it is. And the second, you can try to do it on your own. You can keep reading books. You can listen to podcasts. You can make promises to do better. Pray better prayers, like bargain with God. And again, some guys, you may figure it out, but most won't, right? And the drift didn't happen on, slowly. It doesn't always repair itself slowly, and a lot of guys just don't have what it takes to get through there. I said there's a couple options, and really there's a third. You can get help, and through this, you can book a call with me. It's confidential. We can go over your assessment. We can talk about real stuff. I can help you with some steps, like what do you do from here, map out some stuff for you, kind of create a plan of action that you can start working on your gaps. And even on that call, I won't sell you. I never have. At the end of that call, if you decide, like, Bob, I like you, I trust you, I believe you can help me, If you said, tell me about Man Alive, which is a group of men, an amazing group that I work with, I would tell you about it. Or if you said, you know what, tell me about working with you one on one, I would tell you about it. And compliments of our virtual world like this, I meet guys in person that are in the area, but I meet guys across the country virtually. So, but that's it. Like, we'd get to the end of that call, and if you said, tell me more, I would. And if you didn't, I wouldn't. I don't go, come on. Yeah, I just don't. Like, I'm 62, man. I work with guys who are ready to kick ass and take names, not guys that I want to pump and prime and talk into it. That's not a fun relationship. But anyway, if you want to talk to Bob, just book the call, man. Let's close the gap while it's closable. And if that's not what you want to do, it's cool. But save the video. Go back through it. There's parts you probably didn't hear clearly. Just let me speak into your life through this video a few times, and maybe help you with stuff that you still want to do on your own. And if I can ever add value to what you're doing, I'm here for you. When a man gets it right, your world is better. When you don't, your world suffers.